I am a brain doctor. Nearly 20 years working in the emergency room. What surprises me most are not the severe stroke cases but those that come at the calmest moments. Morning is the time everyone thinks is gentle, full of energy, and the start of a good new day. But morning is exactly when I receive the most stroke cases of the day. Let me ask you something. Have you ever just opened your eyes, not yet taken a deep breath, suddenly sat up and felt a bit dizzy, your eyes blurry, but you told yourself it's probably because you didn't sleep enough last night? Or sometimes you head straight to the bathroom, quickly wash your face, and drink coffee on an empty stomach thinking it will wake your head up better. You are not alone. Because most patients I meet early in the morning have habits like that. I remember a 73-year-old man named Walter who lived in California. He was still healthy, woke up every morning at 6, went to the bathroom on his own, drank a strong black coffee before breakfast. That morning was like any other, except one thing. About 10 minutes after he got out of bed, his wife heard a loud crash in the bathroom. He had collapsed on the floor. His left hand no longer moved. His mouth was mumbling without clear words. His face was crooked to one side. The stroke happened within minutes right after his usual morning routine. I know you are listening to this and feeling suspicious. Could standing up too fast or drinking coffee too early really increase the risk of stroke that much? Yes, those seemingly harmless things have been proven to triple the risk of morning stroke in older adults. Especially for those with a history of high blood pressure, diabetes, insomnia, or who have felt slight dizziness upon waking. But please don't panic. I won't stop at warning you because the more important thing is to understand why it happens and how to prevent it starting from the first minutes after opening your eyes. You might think I'm exaggerating. But right now I'm going to tell you a story that even caught me off guard. That morning, I arrived at the emergency room just after 7. As I walked in, an urgent call came from a nearby neighborhood. A man in his 70s had collapsed in the bathroom about 10 minutes after waking. I remember his name very well. His name was Henry, a retired engineer living with his wife. No smoking. No diabetes. No alcohol. Still walked every afternoon. His medical history showed no obvious risk factors. And that made me careless from the very first moment. His wife was the one who called emergency. Her voice trembled as she told us that only 10 minutes ago, he was still smiling at her. I asked, "Did he fall?" She shook her head. No, he just got up and went into the bathroom as usual. I heard a loud crash. I ran in and found him lying on the floor. I still remember her eyes at that moment. Not full of panic but stunned, as if she couldn't believe what was happening. Could just standing up too fast cause this, doctor? She asked me with tears. And I couldn't answer right away. We immediately took him for a CT scan. The results showed a small area in the left hemisphere of the brain had a mild hemorrhage. Not large. Not causing complete unconsciousness. But enough to cause language disorder and slight paralysis on one side. Diagnosis: mild hemorrhagic stroke after sudden posture change. Actually, Henry was not the first person I met in this condition. But he's the one I remember most because of how disciplined he lived. And how lightly he fell, just like how he lived. No warning signs before. No fatigue. No headache. No trembling. No abnormal signs the night before. He just woke up, sat up right away, went to the bathroom, bent down to wash his face, and his brain couldn't handle that sudden pressure. I have studied this mechanism in books. About how blood pressure can spike when we stand up too fast from lying down. About how brain vessels can rupture slightly just from a sudden change when the vessels are weak. But only when I saw Henry did I truly understand. That theory is a person's life. I share this story not to scare you but to show you that even when you live disciplined. Don't smoke. Don't drink. Have no underlying illness. Just one fast movement in the morning can cause consequences. And if we don't pay attention, the price can be half a body unable to move. Speech no longer clear. Eyes no longer recognizing loved ones. I know you are sitting there thinking. Have you ever felt dizzy when standing up? Have you ever rushed into the bathroom and felt your vision blur a little? Have you ever thought it was nothing serious? If yes, you are not alone. Many have ignored those signs until they couldn't walk anymore. We don't need to worry too much but shouldn't be careless either. And to understand why a small thing can cause a big consequence, we need to look at how the brain and circulatory system work every morning. So in the next part I will explain simply why a small habit can trigger a stroke in just a few minutes. And if we don't pay attention, the price can be half a body unable to move. Speech no longer clear. Eyes no longer recognizing loved ones. At that moment, I stood still for a few seconds in the emergency room. I silently asked myself, could it really be that just standing up too fast could change a whole life's direction? And then I forced myself to face the answer. Yes. Just one small movement can make the brain unable to react in time. Why a small habit can trigger a stroke. I once heard an old man say to me, "Doctor, I just stood up. I didn't do anything. I hadn't even left the room yet." And that's something I've heard repeated many times from people who have just experienced a mild morning stroke. It sounds illogical, but biologically, it makes perfect sense. Morning is when our body is still in rest mode. The brain is not fully active yet. Blood pressure right after waking is usually low. The heart beats slowly. Blood vessels constrict. Simply put, the whole body is on yellow light mode. Not ready for any sudden changes. But many people open their eyes and jump up immediately. Some even bend down to pick up slippers or rush down the hallway to wake themselves up. When doing that, blood hasn't pumped enough to the brain. Pressure builds up in the still constricted vessels. And if there is any weak spot in the vessels, it will rupture or clog. The easiest analogy is a small garden hose. Overnight it's dry and cold. In the morning, you turn the water on full blast. What happens? The hose jerks. And if there's a thin or cracked spot, it will burst first. The brain is the same. Whenever blood pressure spikes suddenly after sleep, the thin and complex brain vessels are the most vulnerable. And it's not just standing up fast that causes risk. I once met an elderly woman who had a stroke after morning exercise. She was diligent. As soon as she opened her eyes, she sat up and did sit-ups. Then walked quickly around the yard. Hadn't eaten or drunk anything yet. And that day it was a bit cold. About 15 minutes later, she felt dizzy, sat down on a chair, and couldn't get up again. Many older adults think morning exercise is good. And it is, if done correctly. But exercising at the wrong time, when the body is not fully warmed up, can turn a good thing into a danger. Why? Because after waking up, the blood supply to the brain is still slow. If you move quickly, bend over repeatedly, or walk fast continuously, your body pulls blood to feed muscles while the brain still needs to warm up. That small deficit is enough to damage brain vessels. I'm not telling you this to make you worried. I just want you to understand that habits you have done for decades may no longer be suitable after 60. Your body now needs a slower, gentler rhythm and preparation. Like an old car. To run far, you need to warm the engine slowly, not just step on the gas and speed off like when you were young. If every morning you spend an extra 2 minutes gently waking your body, you cut nearly half your risk of morning stroke. And it costs no pills. No doctor visit needed. Just start right in your bedroom. So how do you change your morning habits without feeling constrained? Let's move on together to the next part with 5 simple behaviors that help protect your brain from the moment you open your eyes. After all the morning stroke cases I've seen, I realized something very simple. If only patients had slowed down a little. If only they had started the day with a soft breath. Maybe they wouldn't have fallen into the spiral of loss. But that also makes me believe change is absolutely possible and not hard. You just need to know where to start and how to start. I want to invite you to join me through a new morning. Not with big things, but 5 very gentle actions that can keep the brain intact. The first action is to lie still for 1 to 2 minutes after waking. When your eyes open, don't rush to sit up. Just lie quietly and feel your breath to give your body time to adjust blood pressure. Blood from the heart to the brain needs a few beats to stabilize. I know many people have the habit of jumping up right away because they fear falling back asleep. But actually, 2 minutes of lying still helps the brain get used to waking up, just like the sun needs to rise gradually, not switch on sharply like a light. The second action is to rub your palms and gently press them on your eyes and face. This is a very simple action. Rub your hands together to warm them, then gently press on the eye, forehead, and cheek areas. It helps stimulate peripheral circulation and awaken the sympathetic nervous system. I have an elderly patient. He told me, "Doctor, I just comfort myself like a gentle hug every morning." And since doing that, he no longer feels numbness in the morning as before. The third action is to sit up slowly and stretch your shoulders 3 times. Instead of jumping straight up, lean to one side, use your hand lightly to push yourself up, and sit up slowly. Then instead of standing right away, stretch your shoulders, take a deep breath raising your arms over your head, hold for a moment, then exhale slowly. Repeat 3 times. Your body now feels gently warmed up, and your brain is signaled that we are preparing to start a new day. The fourth action is to drink a few sips of warm water before leaving the room. Water helps thin the blood after a night's sleep. Helps the heart not have to work too hard to pump blood. Helps the brain get enough water for metabolism. Especially important for those taking blood pressure or diuretic medications. Don't drink too much. Just a few sips. And remember, warm water. Not cold. No sugar. Not coffee. I know many people make coffee right after waking. But coffee on an empty stomach strongly stimulates the heart and vessels. If you care about your brain, let it be moistened first with plain water. The fifth action is to use the bathroom before doing anything else. Morning bathroom trips help release bladder pressure. When the body is storing excess water after a night's sleep, it also helps stabilize the diaphragm and heart. Prevents pressure buildup in the brain. After using the bathroom, you can start a light breakfast and then coffee if you want. By then, your body is fully ready. I don't ask you to do all of these at once. But if you start with one thing and add the second next week, after a month you will feel the difference. A slow morning start leads to a clear-headed day and a future with less fear of stroke. I had a patient who has done all 5 actions consistently for 3 years. Since then, no morning dizziness. No hospital visits for brain ischemia. And especially, he still drives himself to the market every Friday afternoon. That is what I hoped for you. Not a perfect body but a brain protected every morning by seemingly small actions. I won't stop here. Because I want to tell you an even better story. A man who nearly had a stroke but saved both his memory and speech by changing his morning habits. A small action every morning can save a whole life. I used to think that saving someone from a stroke required strong medicine, advanced machines, and excellent doctors. But after 20 years in the profession, I gradually understood that some things save lives not in hospitals. Not in medicine bottles, but right in their bedrooms, starting from the moment they open their eyes each morning. Let me tell you a true story. One of my patients, named Thomas, 68 years old, had a mild ischemic stroke 4 years ago. At that time, he was cleaning the house in the morning when suddenly his left hand felt numb and his speech slurred a bit. Luckily, his wife noticed and called emergency right away. He almost fully recovered but then became anxious. Every morning when waking up, he feared whether he could still speak clearly or tie his shoelaces like the day before. I sat and talked with him for nearly an hour in the consultation room, and instead of prescribing more medicine, I gave him a handwritten note listing exactly the 5 morning actions I have shared with you. He stuck it next to his bedside lamp, and every morning as his eyes just opened, he saw it even before the first sunlight slipped through the window. 3 years later, at his routine checkup, he was no longer the frightened man from before. He told me, "Doctor, you know, I not only escaped stroke but also kept my voice, so every night I read books to my grandson before he sleeps." That sentence left me speechless. I just nodded silently, and inside I understood that sometimes saving a person is not just keeping their heart beating but preserving the things that make them want to keep living. If tomorrow morning you wake up and wonder what you should do first, I hope you remember those 5 gentle actions. Lie a little longer. Rub your hands on your face. Sit up slowly. Drink a few sips of water. And don't rush. Because every slow start in the morning keeps you a strong hand to hold, a steady step, a clear voice, and a sharp memory. If this video touches something in your heart, if you suddenly recall a time you felt dizzy or a time your mother spoke slowly and you overlooked it, please leave a comment below. It doesn't have to be long, just honest. Maybe another elderly friend will read it and won't overlook their morning like today. And if you find what I shared useful, please subscribe to this channel so every week I can sit here and tell you a small story that might save the big things in life. Thank you for staying until the very end. I wish you a gentle tomorrow morning, warm hands, and a future still intact. I didn't make this video for myself. I made it because maybe in your phone book there's someone who just needs to hear this once to avoid a regret that can never be undone. Please share this video with them. Not because it's good, but because it's a way to love through action.